Welcome back to Business Connections. I'm Larry Seaman, your host. And right now we have a couple here at the Coffee Factory, and it's Gladys and Kevin York, and it's good to see both of you.
It's good.
How did you get this idea for this coffee shop? Because it's got a lot of environmental and certainly a Latin taste to it.
I married a Latino woman coming from Central America. She grew up in Central America, and everybody knows Central America is known for their coffee.
Right.
And every time we visit there, we always love the colorful country, and they have a lot of things to offer. And one thing we always felt passionate about is their cafes. They have great coffee there.
Yeah.
Knowing Gladys, growing up around there, knew a lot about coffee. And when we come back to Derry, New Hampshire, we always felt those things lacking in Derry. One is a coffee house.
Right.
So we would travel all the way to Portsmouth, New Hampshire to go to Breaking New Grounds. The reason is that it's very comfortable there, and they have good coffee. They also roast their own coffee on site there too. So they're passionate about coffee. Thinking about it, that we spend more money in gas going to Portsmouth than we do on coffee. But it's that feeling of going to a coffee house and having a little pleasure in life. And we missed that from Guatemala. She said, let's do it in Derry. I think Derry is missing that.
Okay.
This is an environment where we want this to be a third place for people. The first place is mostly their homes. Second place, they spend a lot of time at work. And where do they go to relax and have a good conversation with people? And this is more for Derry to have an environment where they can come and socialize. It's more about the interaction. I'll show you the basics. The beans are loaded on the top.
Yep.
Pretty much this is a large oven, but it rotates. The difference in oven is we're not baking the beans, we're actually roasting them. So the beans will hit the side of the walls, which is at a higher temperature, and it'll start cooking the beans, or roasting the beans to say. There's airs flowing through there to wash or flow all the debris out into a collector called a silo. And that'll collect all the dust and particles that come off during the cooking process. The next thing is we're letting it warm up.
Okay.
This is all run off of Celsius.
Really?
Pretty much. I'll tell you the principle of coffee roasting.
Yeah, sure.
Get it down to. We're going to start at 185 Celsius. Translated, that's probably 360 degrees Fahrenheit, I guess. Pretty much you dump the beans in, it's going to lower the temperature of the drum. There's a flame at the bottom of the drum through the slit. It'll warm up the drum and apply the heat slowly and gradually to the bean. The bean will hit certain stages where it will start actually cracking and swell. The bean will actually almost double in size, depends on the roast. And at that time it's going to go ahead and shed its silver skin, called a chaff, and it'll be blown off and collected in the silo. The second part is now all the bean inside is going through a chemical process where it's changing the acids of the beans into flavors. And then through the roasting process, you will stop it after it's a certain roasting point. The darker the roast, the more of the flavoring of the roasting process will be applied to it. It's almost like roasting or grilling a steak on the grill, where the more you grill it, the darker the charcoal taste will be of the steak. So it's a lot of preference after the first crack of the beans to say. A lighter roast will stop you'll dump the beans out after the first crack. And then you can keep on roasting into a darker roast, where the medium roast will stop at the second crack of the beans and get into the darker stage of the beans. The darker the roast, the more tricky and the more expert experience has to be applied to the beans, because it's very easy to burn beans. You gotta watch it. So, I'll show you at the first stage is that we have to load the machine with the beans. The green beans are put up into the silo up top, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna dump the beans in. Flowing in, stops, close the trap, and you can see as the temperature drops on the silo, on the roaster. And this is where the bean is starting to absorb the heat in the drum of the machine, so it's going to bring, seal all the heat, and then the machine you have to work hard to get the temperature back up. Going through that curve of temperature when it will actually change the beans. We'll give it different properties as the bean actually goes through a chemical transformation inside. It's all natural. We don't put any chemicals in there, but the beans, when it's roasting, will actually change properties inside. That's the transaction I'm talking about. Where this is a site where you will see the beans in its raw state, and as it goes through the process, it will change color. So this stage will probably take about 8 minutes.
Okay.
Until we get towards the finish.
All right.
You see the beans are changing, and soon they're going to start cracking. You hear them start cracking now?
Yeah.
So we saw them as being green and yellowish, like grass.
Right.
And now they're changing. When you start smelling it,
Yeah.
this is the point where we have to really start watching it.
Yeah.
We go a little bit more. I'm going to stand to your right.
Yep.
We have 3 degrees more to go, and that's very important to know. So I'm going to start putting the mixer on because we're going to dump it in about 30 seconds. 15 seconds changes the coffee drastically.
So timing is a big issue.
Timing and color. So it's almost at that temperature. Now I just got to get the color right, and I can take it out. The color's right there. And we're at 209 perfectly. It's a perfect batch.
Ooh. A lot of heat, steam.
A lot of smoke, yeah. But it's a good smell. Alright.
And how long does it take to stir?
What's happening now is, good question, is that it's stirring and it's cooling the beans. The reason it's cooling the beans is you want to keep the roasting process going. Because the beans itself can generate its own energy inside. You can't see it, but there's the beans are changing inside. And there's a process where it will create its own energy and keep on roasting on its own. So now we're cooling it to the touch, so it'll stop the process. It's right there. It was coming out around 412 degrees. If you touched it, it would have burnt you.
Yeah.
But after a few seconds cooling, it's fine to the touch.
Very good.